Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Dita Gunarsari. So today I will answer the question middle test. Analysis of lesson plan implementation. Explain to what extent you were able to implement the lesson plan RPP you created. Identify which part of the lesson went according to plan and which did not. What were the supporting and hindering factors during the implementation? In the implementation of this teaching practice, I have tried to implement the lesson plan RPP that I have compiled. In general, the lesson structure went according to the plan sequence, such as an introduction, core, and closing activities. For example, in the introduction, I success in building student activeness into class with triggering question according to the lesson plan. However, there were parts that did not go according to plan, namely in the core activities where I took too long to explain the material, so that the time allocated become less effective. This caused the presentation time to extend the predetermined limit, which was 70 minutes instead of 15 minutes. The supporting factor in this implementation were the thorough preparation of the material and the use of relevant learning media. However, the main inhibiting factor was the lack of the time management, especially during discussion and material explanation, so some closing activities were reset. The second question is evaluation of teaching performance. Watch your teaching video again, mention and explain 3 strengths and 3 weaknesses you observe in your teaching performance. How do you plan to improve the weakness you identify? Strength. The first is mastery of the material. I am able to explain the material clearly and coherently so that student can understand the core of learning. The second is use of media. I use learning media that are interest and appropriate to the material, such as informative presentation slide. The last is interaction with student. I actively asked questions and responded to student answer, so the class atmosphere become more lively. Weaknesses. The first is time management. I lacked discipline in the management time, resulting in the presentation extending the specific limit. The second is less page for discussion, because the time spent on explaining the material was too long. The time for student discussion was limited. The third is lack of closing. The closing part was researched so that the reflection and summary of the material was not maximum improvement plan. I will be more disciplined in managing time by using a timer or time marker for each part of the lesson. In addition, I will make time notes on the lesson plan and practice the presentation so that each part run according to the time allocation. I will also prepare more structured discussion questions so that the discussion continues to run effectiveness despite the limited time. The third question is use of media and introduction material. Evaluate of evaluate the effectiveness of the media and instructional material you use during your teaching practice. Were they appropriate for the learning objective and the characteristic of your student? Provide your assessment along with supporting response. Reason. The learning media and material I use, such as presentation slides and supporting images, are quite effective in helping students understand the material. The media is in accordance with the learning objective, which is to help students understand concepts visual and textual. The characteristics of students who tend to be visual are also greatly helped by the picture and diagram on the slide. However, I realized that the use of media can be more interactive, for example, by explaining on the board, adding a short move video or interactive quiz to get students more actively involved. Overall, the media and material are appropriate but can still be developed but to be more varied and interesting. The fourth question, students respond and classroom interaction. Based on the video, how did the student respond to your teaching? Describe how you build interaction with the student and how that interaction contribute to student engagement in the learning process. Students were enthusiastic in answering questions and following my instruction. I build interaction by asking open-ended questions and giving students the opportunity to express their opinion. Their interaction contribute to student engagement as they feel actively involved in the learning process, not just as a listener. However, the interaction could be more optimal if we discussed time was longer and I provided more opportunities for students to ask questions or discuss. The fifth question, reflection and replanning. If you were given the opportunities to teach the same topic again using the same lesson plan, what would you change or improve in your teaching implementation? Uh, Describe the change and provided pedagogical reason for them. Reflection and replanning. If I were given the opportunities to, to teach the same topic with the same lesson, I would make some change, especially in terms of time management. I would divide the time proportionally for each section. For example, 3 minutes for introduction, 9 minutes for core, and 3 minutes for closing. I will also use tools such as a timer so that each section goes according to plan. In addition, I will explain using whiteboard media so that students will understand better. I will add a brief reflection activities at the end of the lesson so that students can summarize the material they'll have learned. Pedagogical teachings are important so that learning runs effectively and all learning objectives can be achieved properly. Maybe that's all from me. I think enough. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.